Spiritual vision involves seeing from a higher level of consciousness. It requires looking differently, because when you look differently, you begin to see differently. Then as your state of consciousness is raised, you move towards unity, and your mind is liberated from the illusory limitations of dualistic thinking and the linear concept of time. The past and the future no longer exist. There is only the eternal present. In it, every experience is new and different. Indeed, there are no repeated experiences, there are only new ones. And there is no longer preference or denial, there simply is, and you see what is before you. With this, your entire mode of perception changes. One of these being your vision, which then takes on a more spiritual dimension. Sacred art is created to be understood from such higher levels of consciousness, which need to be activated in yourself through these works. The vital principles of sacred art exist outside of space and time. Thus they are as valid for you today as for the artist when he created the piece. There is no difference. Sacred works of art contain many vital messages, but you need to know how to retrieve them. Just looking is not enough. And aesthetics are a serious handicap as they keep you focused on the surface and therefore limit you to a superficial vision which only feeds the ego. To go deeper, aesthetics and overvaluation of form must be abandoned and different tools employed to penetrate the sacred dimensions of the artwork. The work already contains all the information you need. You just have to open your inner eye to begin to see it in a completely different way. The entire universe is in a permanent state of becoming, which the Egyptians called Khepri and symbolized by the scarab beetle. The solar disk, the Aten, represents divine governance, and when it crowns Khepri, your state of becoming is under divine governance. Your cosmic play is unfolding according to the great divine plan. Thus living the state of Khepri enables you to create your own destiny as it unfolds, moment by moment, living an ever-evolving reality, like this sculpture of the sacred scarab enshrined in eternity. Holding this state requires tuning into the sistrum of Hathor, mistress of cosmic harmony and the power of sound. Literally, Hathor means the house of Horus, the state where your divine child dwells. Horus is the Word made manifest. For the Word to be effective, it needs to be heard. It needs to be received by the ear. And the Egyptians chose the ear of the cow as the perfect hearing receptacle. The outspread ears of Hathor receive and hold the Word. She becomes the house of the Word, the keeper of the Word. Holding open the gates of inner vision, the all-seeing eye of Horus can gaze out over this earthly plane and see beyond it into the spiritual realms. From this elevated vantage point, your own Horus looks out with contentment, alert, active, solid. Every living thing, from the mineral world through the vegetable to the animal and beyond to the celestial, expresses a different aspect of truth and vibrates at a different frequency. Now the Egyptians chose stone as the primary vehicle to convey their teaching, and due to the enormity of its time scale, its apparent motionless silence causes its vital significance to be almost entirely overlooked. Yet every piece of stone they carved was selected precisely because it embodies the most fundamental aspects of the message to be conveyed. The stone itself is carrying the energetic message for you. This energy is a form of conscious love. Its carved form gives that energy a dynamic expression, but remember that the stone existed long before it was quarried or carved. That's why a broken statue, or even a fragment, still retains its vital energetic message, because the conscious love is embodied in the stone itself. It cannot be destroyed by man or by nature. In a higher state of consciousness, you are a prince. A prince is a king in the state of becoming. His potent physical form, with its youthful vigor, energetically expresses the inner vitality of the divine spirit within your own body. Breathe in this air through your nostrils. Fill your breast with its divine aroma. Placing an anchor on your breast unifies all aspects of duality to secure eternal life there, in your secret inner heart. A crown is reserved exclusively for the royal head. At the coronation, it separates the human from the divine precisely at the level of third eye, the highest point from which the ancient Egyptian canon of proportions begins. Encrusted with precious gems, this silver crown rules over the intuitive feminine powers, which support the great serpent in the sky. Maintaining and prolonging a higher state of consciousness is the work of the king. The king, or perfect man, represents the triumph of the divine spirit on the earthly plane. Yet just as Ra is counterbalanced by Osiris, he must be lord of the afterworld also, triumphant in death. You presently consist of a spirit, ego or soul, and body. The spirit and the body are divine gifts from the Creator, while the ego or nafs is an entirely man-made creation which acts as a barzak or bridge between the two. The spirit is eternal, yet in their natural state the body and the ego are mortal, and your ego will perish along with your corpse, unless conscious intervention is made. The voluntary or ritual death of the ego is a conscious undertaking and an essential part of the spiritual journey. For the wayfarer, it is a vital process that involves the mystical death experience symbolized by Nephthys, which leads to a trance-like state that connects you to worlds within other dimensions. Death of the body marks its return to the dust from whence it came, the mineral world, lest another process is begun at precisely this point, a process which would effectively transform the body into an eternal entity. Mummification is a ritual enactment of immortality. Eternity created by the alchemical fixing of a physical body. Here, symbolism rises to a metaphysical level, whereby the fixing of a human body or that of an animal suspend the dissolution of the material body to raise it up to the level of stone, which we saw was used to preserve sacred messages in the eternal present. The alchemical fixing of mummification transmutes the physical nature of form into an altered dimension of conscious reality, which exists in another dimension of time and space outside of that with which we are familiar. The chief purpose of cosmic alchemy is the continuous refinement of all matter, whether in physical, psychic, or cosmic form, and turn it into imperishable gold. It marks a golden return to the divine source, where the spiritual vision of your inner eye can focus its gaze upon the eternal present.